In my lifetime, I have witnessed unprecedented change to our natural environment. And today, I would like to unpack some of the evidence for this change from both polar regions with the help of my colorful shirt and invite us to respond. The average global life expectancy for humans at this point is just under 75 years. And the main fabric of my shirt shows what has happened to temperature in the Arctic in this period, one person's lifetime. Using the climate stripe concept, and that has been developed by our collaborator, Professor Ed Hawkins. Each stripe stands for a year. The color indicates temperature, with blue tones symbolizing cooler, red, warmer temperatures compared to the average of that period of time. The first stripe is 1950, the last 2025. The warming trend is clearly visible in these 75 years. Now, we know that globally, annual average temperatures have increased by nearly 1.5 degrees centigrade since the Industrial Revolution, when humankind started burning fossil fuels. So what's so special about warming in the Arctic? The difference between the first and the last of these just 75 years is 3.5 degrees centigrade. Compared to the rest of the world, the Arctic is warming much faster, leading to rapid loss of sea ice and environmental change with devastating effects on the wildlife and communities living there. Climate change is amplified in the polar regions. They are sentinels of this change. We have seen what has happened in one person's lifetime in the Arctic. Now I invite us to look at the Antarctic and the story its ice cores tell us about prehistoric times. What's so interesting about this ice? It is the only record we have on the planet of the actual atmosphere of the past. And this is how it works. Snow falls, and when it settles, there's air between the flakes. Further snowfall compacts the snow, and eventually the pressure turns it to ice, capturing the air in bubbles. As we go down, we go back in time. Similar to tree rings, you can see the layers here. When ice cores are drilled, as my colleagues are doing here, and analyzed, they reveal valuable information. From the bubbles, we can extract the air of the past and analyze it for its composition, including greenhouse gas concentrations. The isotope ratio of the water is a proxy for the temperature at the time when the snow fell. And contaminants such as dust and soot can provide physical timestamps. And you can see such a deposition of volcanic ash in this section of ice core from 8,000 years ago. That's the time when humankind turned from being hunters and gatherers to cultivating crops. That's a very long time ago. But ice core records extend much further back in time. And indeed, the oldest ice core that is currently fully analyzed is 100,000 times older. And here you can see a depiction of the data derived from this 800,000-year-old ice core. And this data we have included in the cuffs and collars of the shirt as well. When we analyze these cores for CO2 concentration in dark red and temperature in light red, we find important facts. Over these 800,000 years, CO2 and temperature have tracked each other over ice ages and warm periods. The difference between an ice age and a warm period is about 100 parts per million in CO2 and about 10 degrees centigrade in temperature. Over the entire 800,000 years, CO2 concentration has not risen above 300 parts per million. And before the Industrial Revolution, it was at 280 parts per million. Where are we now? 430 parts per million. We have added 1.5 times the difference between an ice age and a warm period on top of a warm period. This is unprecedented in human history. For reference, the Neanderthals died out about 40,000 years ago during the last ice age. And all civilization as we know it, with sedentary lifestyle and agriculture, has developed just in the last 8,000 years, when both CO2 and temperature were comparatively stable. And the fact that globally, temperatures have only increased by nearly 1.5 degrees centigrade is an indication that this CO2 increase has happened so rapidly on a planetary time scale that temperatures have not yet caught up. Now this affords us a precious window of opportunity to reverse this trend, avoid dangerous tipping points, and keep this planet in a state that is compatible with our civilization. Unless we take unprecedented action, we will find ourselves in a world we will struggle to live in. So, what do we do with this precious window of opportunity? The facts are scary, and they can easily lead to fear, or shame, or guilt. And those are rotten motivators. In the short term, they might whip us into action, but long term, they will bleed us dry. What we need instead is a positive, life-giving approach that taps into our passions and our deepest value systems to give us long-term motivation that we need for this long-term problem, and the perseverance and creativity to find solutions. So to find this positive approach, it helps to understand what motivates us. And then we can tap into our core values. This might be the future of our children. This is a photo of our daughter. And a key motivation for me is that I desperately want her generation and their descendants to live on a sustainable planet. Another equally important motivation for myself and many others is faith. All major faith groups include creation care and a sacred responsibility to be good stewards of the natural environment that we have been entrusted with. We might be motivated by preserving the natural beauty that we have the privilege of enjoying. or by business opportunities. Whatever our core values are, let's find out how they can help us sustain motivation and momentum for climate action. Even with the best of motivations, though, we might say, the problem is so big. What difference could I possibly make? And it is true, some individuals, those who lead governments or large corporations, have vast influence. Many of the rest of us, a lot less. But we all do have spheres of influence. If we are in work, at our workplace, in our homes, in our families, in our social circles. And we can let those who take decisions on our behalf know that we care about climate change. And yes, the problem is very big indeed. But we must not let that paralyze us, but instead commit to tangible actions, even if, in the light of the size of this problem, they seem small. And I would encourage us not to leave today without having committed to one action. And that could be as simple but important and powerful as committing to learning more, particularly about which of our actions have which measure of benefit, so that we employ our time and our energy and resources as effectively as possible when fighting climate change. And there are great programs about that can help us, such as carbon literacy. It helps, in order to keep going, to share our commitments with others, to find like-minded allies and hold each other to account. And whatever we do, let us employ life-giving creativity and aim to inspire others to join us in taking action. We have a unique window of opportunity. Let's seize it together.